All right, I think I'm live. Hello, everyone. Let me get my YouTube sorted. YouTube, come on. All right, there we go. Hi, can you hear me? Is this working? I hope it is. Just as a note, the power just went out as I started the live before. I'm assuming it's going to stay on. I don't know. There's a lot of storms in the area, so that could be what's causing it. But anyway, hello. I am here. Get everything going. All right, I put Pandora's Karma's comment on the screen because that is one of the first things I wanted to talk about today. She hit the nail on the head. So we're going to start there. We'll give a minute, get some people in the room. Oh, lots of good questions. What I want to do today is I want to wrap up the news from the week. There was a lot of news in this case this week. So I want to wrap that up and talk about everything that happened, but also answer your questions. I rewatched some of my last few live streams and I missed so many good questions in chat because it's hard for me still to learn how to read chat on the fly while I'm talking. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to pay a lot of attention to chat and read your questions, and we're going to talk about all the stuff. So welcome. I hope everyone's caught up on what happened this week. We had the arrest affidavit, the probable cause affidavit for Chad Daybell's arrest that was released. I have two videos up on that. One is just a straight read through of the affidavit with all the text so that you can just hear what's in the documents without any of my personal spin on it or theories or speculation or anything like that. But the second video is I broke it down into a timeline because when you start to look at the timeline and the times that they found on Alex's GPS phone pings, it tells us a lot, and that was important to look at. So talk about that. Now, I'm going to jump right into Pandora's comment. If shots were heard at Chad's home because he killed a raccoon, does that mean they shot and killed Tylee? Now, again, straight up, this is speculation. This is extrapolation. This is a theory. This is not a fact. But the affidavit does state that Chad Daybell texted Tammy that morning, right? And he said to Tammy, well, I had to burn the tree limbs before the storms came. And while I was doing that, a raccoon ran across the yard. So I got my gun and I shot it and I buried it in the pet cemetery. This is a really important text message. I don't know why my computer's being all blurry. All right, hopefully that'll clear itself up, just the internet. So what he's saying to Tammy is there was a fire in the fire pit. I shot something. And I buried something in the pet cemetery. That's covering all of his bases because Tammy might have noticed disturbed earth and been like, were you burying something? What's that about? She might have one of the neighbors say, hey, I heard a gunshot. What happened this morning? So he had to explain that. And then he had to explain why there was a fire in the fire pit. So he crafted a story. And if you read the text of that text message, it sounds like he's writing a story. People don't speak that way, you know? And it really sounds to me like Chad had to put on his author hat and come up with a story to explain those three things in case Tammy asked questions. So his explanation was the gunshot was because of a raccoon. The fire was because of tree limbs. The digging in the ground was because of the raccoon that I shot. That's what I think that means. Now, what that means to me is, just like Pandora said, did he shoot Tylee? Because he sent that text 14 minutes after Alex Cox left his property after being there for 2.5 hours. What does that say to you? That's what that says to me. Pure speculation. In no way, shape, or form does the document suggest that that's what happened. So that's extrapolation, which is something else I want to hit on really quick. But first, let me look at chat. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Michelle, Christina, Denise, Sharon. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing? Dark Side of the Moon. So good to see you as always. Paula, I hope you're doing well. Penny Sue. Hi, honey. And there's Jess. Jess, how are you feeling? I hope you're feeling a little bit better. You know how I get worried about Jess. So I hope everybody's doing it. And there's Expat Mara. Hi, honey. Expat Mara is my husband. Hello. What are you? Wait, why are you texting me? I thought you were supposed to be out shopping. Why are you sitting in a parking lot somewhere watching my live stream? Go shop and come home and get some cookies or something. Yeah, we'll talk about my diet later. Oh, Jess, you're not doing good. If there's anything I can do, Jess, please just let me know. Want me to come up there and tickle your back and read you a story or something? I would love to do that. My poor Jess. All right. Extrapolation versus facts. This is something I want to talk about. When we read the affidavit, right? There's a lot of facts in the affidavit. There is no extrapolation in the affidavit. There is no theory. This is what we know. This is why we need the arrest warrant. Okay. Now, let's talk about the big thing here. Dismemberment. I actually have been working on having a conversation with Nate Eaton about using that word. He started this mess, and he needs to get his behind on my live stream and explain himself. Okay. The affidavit talks about Tylee's remains and says they found bones and charred flesh and charred bones. Certainly, it was not a fully articulated skeleton. Okay. Right? We get that. They also say that they used a backhoe to remove a layer of soil. That could be why the skeleton disarticulated. We don't know. Nowhere, and please read the document. Nowhere in this document does it say that Tylee was dismembered. Okay? It does not say that. Now, he absolutely needs to clarify this, because now everybody else is parroting it, and that is not what this document says. Is it possible? Of course it's possible that she was dismembered. Of course it is. But it does not say that. We do not know that for a fact yet. We may find that out. We may find that she wasn't dismembered. Loosed, scattered bones does not automatically mean a purposeful dismemberment. If the bones were charred, now think about this. You know how the human body works. All of your bones are held together by tendons and muscle and skin and flesh. The bones aren't holding themselves together, right? Without all of your tendons and flesh and skin, your bones are just a loose pile of bones, right? Skeletons don't just walk around like you see in cartoons and things. So if she was burned, right, to the point where you have charred bones, that means the skin that holds your skeleton together was gone, exposing the bone to the fire. If that happens, the bones will not be articulated. They will not be together. They will be loose. That does not mean dismemberment. All right. So please, that's a big thing that we have to really get into our heads. I had a debate at 2:00 in the morning in the comment section about this last night. So, let's be factual about it. When you read something like that and you think, oh, she must have been dismembered, that's called extrapolation. That's where you're taking some facts and you're putting together in your head what sounds logical and what sounds rational and reasonable. That's not a non-normal thing to do. Everybody does that, but that's not a fact. That is extrapolation. So that's the big difference there. Okay. We do not know if Tylee was dismembered. It's definitely possible. And that's that. So the other thing about this document and extrapolation is JJ. Someone, actually more than one person, I've heard this from quite a few people, say that they only found JJ's head, that he was decapitated. And I'm like, what? Like, are you guys all seeing an autopsy report that I'm not seeing? Because it does not say that. And that's the way that the document was written that lends itself to that idea. They say that when they were digging, they saw the round object covered in plastic. They made an incision in the plastic and saw more plastic, another incision. And when they looked in that incision, they saw the crown of a head covered in light brown hair. They never said they didn't see the rest of the body. They didn't say the head was detached from the body. They did not say that. Now, you can certainly extrapolate that maybe that's the case, but it is not a fact, okay? It is not a fact that JJ was decapitated. It is not a fact that Tylee was dismembered. Those are possibilities, those are theories, and those are speculations. The fact that Nate Eaton said the word dismembered, you know, I would like to show you my my message to him, my DM on Twitter. I was like, Nate Eaton, in my best mom voice, you have some explaining to do, Buster. You started a firestorm, young man. Come on, explain yourself. Now, what do I think about that? I'm going to extrapolate what I think happened in regards to Nate. Nate is in contact with a lot of family members. The family members would have been notified of something like that if that's what the findings were. Maybe they said something to him and he let it slip. Maybe law enforcement on the ground when he was there reporting let something slip. Maybe he does know something that we don't and he let it slip. That's possible. Or maybe, like many people, he just read the document and figured that must be what it means, right? But it is not a fact. So that's out of the way. My goodness. All right, let me catch up on I was ranting too much. Let me catch up on the comments. Let me scroll back up. Hi, Christy. Secret Agent, hello. Hi, Lucy West. Look at all these people. Dan Ave, Christina Todd, Happy Hippie. I like that name. Rebel Rose, how are you doing? Haven't seen you since the other day. Oh. I don't think Tylee was shot. Alex and Laurie took her life at home. You know, cats, I don't want to think that Tylee was shot. It does seem like in that hour, remember when Alex goes back to Laurie's home in the middle of the night? My initial reaction, I was like, oh, well, that's when that happened. But why would Chad Daybell feel the need to explain a gunshot to Tammy in that text message? You know, maybe. Or perhaps he was weaving a story to explain digging in the earth. So he made up the story that he shot the raccoon because he figured Tammy would buy that. Now, remember, one of the neighbors says, what's his name? Matt and Reagan Pierce, I think. The neighbors, they said that in July of that year, so months before this, that they heard a story from Garth, Chad Daybell's son, that Chad had shot a raccoon in a tree in the middle of the day. So maybe that was in the back of Chad's head. So he said, oh, yeah, Tammy will buy that I shot a raccoon. It's possible no gunshot ever happened. And that was just Chad adding his, literary twist on things, right? So this is where we get into trouble with this because there are so many different ways you can extrapolate the information to make it fit a certain narrative. So we don't know. We won't know till we get the autopsy reports. But the fact that he put the gunshot in that story made me say, uh-oh, that's not good. But we're going to find out. We will definitely find out. Rebel Rose, you heard that JJ was wrapped in plastic and duct tape. He was. That is in the affidavit. They said that there was a layer of ground where the weeds were different, right? And so that's where they started digging. And under that, they found some large flat stones. They removed those. And under that, they found 2 sheets of wooden paneling. And they removed those. And then under that, they found a round object covered in plastic wrapped in gray duct tape. We do not know what that round object was. We don't know if it was this big or if it was a 50-gallon drum or what. No idea what that round object is. So we can't infer too much information. But they used whatever cutting tool and made an incision in the plastic. And then they found another layer of plastic. They made another incision and looked in and saw the crown of a head with light brown hair. That's all we know about what they found about JJ. That is all that this document says. So obviously the police know more, law enforcement, medical examiner, but we do not know anything else beyond that. So, but extrapolation about JJ. Alex Cox's phone pinged by that tree at the pond on the property on the 23rd for 17 minutes. Now, given what I just described to you about JJ's burial, can you do that in 17 minutes? I don't think so. So somebody had to help him. Was somebody else there? Was it Chad? Did Alex just drop the body off and take off and Chad did it? Was it pre-prepared and ready? We don't know. But there's something else to it. Right? Alex could not have done all of that in 17 minutes by himself. So, yep. The hole could have already been dug. They could have had it all prepared for that morning. So, there you go. Which is also just terrifying. It really is. Let's see, catching up on the comments again. Can't imagine what Laurie and Chad are. My hair is really, I'm sorry, it's driving me nuts. It's very fluffy today, and so it's like getting in my eyes and my nose. So I'm playing with my hair a lot. I apologize. Can't imagine what Laurie or Chad are going to pull to try and squirm away from this. Yeah, they're going to pull something, no doubt. The whole bunch is circling Pluto. Actually, they're circling Kolob. That is their planet of choice, I've heard. I don't know what Kolob is, but whatever. Dumbbell could have said he found a dead animal. Yeah, see, time for truth. That's what I think. He could have just said, I found a raccoon dead in the street and I buried it. He didn't have to add the gunshot, which makes me think maybe there was a gunshot, because with Chad's whole story about the fire and the digging, there's truth behind it, behind his version. So maybe there's truth behind the gunshot too. Law enforcement has said nothing about that. So we're just going to have to wait and see. There was a gunshot in July. That's not September. So, we're just going to have to wait and see, unfortunately. Now, one thing I really wanted to talk about today before tomorrow is Melanie Gibb, the internet's new Carol Baskin. I can't say the word on a live stream, but Carol effing Baskin has now become Melanie effing Gibb. So, yeah. What do you guys think about Melanie Gibb? What do you think? Maureen Walsh, I don't know where you're getting that the gunshot was in September. In the affidavit, in the text of the affidavit, the statement from the neighbors about the gunshot was from July. I don't see anything in the affidavit, anyone saying they heard a gunshot in September. Speaking strictly about the affidavit, not about what you saw on Reddit or anything like that. In the affidavit, there's no mention of a gunshot in July or in September, aside from Chad's text. So and Sassy, yep, you're right. They even mention that in the affidavit. Raccoons are nocturnal. You don't usually see them running around during the daytime. And the detective says in the affidavit, that's what made him suspicious about that text. So very interesting. Hey, Cowgirl Up, it's so good to see you. How are you doing? We haven't gotten a chance to talk in a long time. So, right. If Julie Rowe is right, I think she is in love with Chad. That is your extrapolation, and I absolutely agree with it, 100%. 100%. Yeah, Julie Rowe. I haven't touched on Julie Rowe yet because that is a can of worms that is very, very deep and very squishy and gross and slimy. But we have to look at Julie Rowe, her connection to Eric Smith. Eric Smith was just on Court TV this week giving his statement. And then we have their connection to Jason Mao. That is a deep and ugly rabbit hole, my friends. So I have not touched on her yet, but yeah, she's cray. Charlene, hi, so good to see you. Hi, Renee. Welcome. Okay, Boomer. So many people. I have to cough. I'm going to mute my microphone for 1 second. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm having an allergy attack today, so I've got all kinds of going on. When did Melanie Gibb leave her family? I do not have the exact date of when that happened. I will have to look it up. There is a date, or at least a month. But it was definitely before September because she showed up with David Warwick at Laurie's house. So there you go. I'm glad to hear you're doing good, Cowgirl. I am doing well. Thank you very much. Why would anyone just shoot a random raccoon? Paula, I have the same reaction to that. Like, I wouldn't shoot a raccoon, but in very rural areas, raccoons are vermin. They're varmints. They make messes. They get in your trash. They cause all kinds of problems. I think it's more common in areas like that to just shoot a raccoon Where me, being more of a city girl, would be like, oh, the cute little raccoon. I want to take it home. So, yeah, that's just me. Who is Julie Rowe? That's a good question. All right, let's touch on Julie Rowe. When we look at Chad and Laurie and their history of their little cult thing, there's a lot of people involved in this. They weren't doing this by themselves. And they used to have a podcast that was hosted by the Preparing a People group, which is a whole nother story. And one of the people that they associated with was Julie Rowe. Now, these people go to meetup groups all over the country where they sell their books. These are kind of like a whole group of authors where they will talk about near-death experiences and dreams and prophecies and all of this stuff. And that's where they have branched far away from traditional mainstream Mormon doctrine. And they get sort of these like fringe and cult followings. Julie Rowe is one of these people. She was an energy worker, which, whatever, let's not go there. She has all kinds of prophecies and dreams and visions and all of this stuff, but she was a hanger-on to Chad. She followed him all over the place, and, I think she really wanted to be with Chad and was probably very jealous of Laurie. That's my personal opinion. But Julie Rowe is in this just as deep as the rest of them with the crazy. All right. She's always talking about her dreams and visions and energy healing and all this kind of stuff. Not that I have a problem with energy healing as such. This is different. Okay. This is not Reiki or that kind of stuff. This is something very different. But she's crazy. She has all of these interviews. You can see most of them, I think, on her Facebook page, where she's talking about JJ and Tylee. Oh, they're safe. I saw them in a cabin. There's a light on. They're fine. Everything's fine. This is my vision. I know this. Until recent events. And now she's like, Chad Daybell sexually molested me and he sexually harassed people and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not what you said 4 days ago. 4 days ago, you were singing his praises like he was the second coming himself. Now, all of a sudden, he's a sexual predator. Okay, Julie Rowe. So, yeah, that's what I think of her. She lies as much as any of them do. She has crazy wackadoodle beliefs, and yeah, just don't give her a whole lot of your energy. Okay, it's crazy. Now, Eric Smith, that you saw on Court TV the other night, an interview with Chanley Painter. I love Chanley Painter. She is phenomenal. She is on top of so many cases. I love her to death. But she got an interview with Eric Smith, and he's on there like, I used to believe Chad. I thought he was wonderful. I was deceived too. Da 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 da. Do not buy it. Eric Smith is Julie Rowe's manager. Let that sink in a second. He promotes all of her stuff, works with her publishing. He manages Julie Rowe's media stuff, I guess you could call it. He's just as crazy as they are. And now they're all coming out and they're trying to say like, oh, we were just deceived, but we're normal. No, they're not. They're not normal. All right, let me catch up on comments. Cowgirl has a question. I thought if you're a convicted convict, you can't carry a firearm. Why is Alex got a gun? First of all, I don't know that Alex has a gun, but just because there's a law that says you're not allowed to carry a firearm doesn't mean you can't carry a firearm. It means you're not supposed to, but especially here in Texas, everybody has a gun. That kind of stuff is just because the law won't let you go into a gun store and buy a gun doesn't mean you can't get a gun. So that's what that. But I don't know for a fact if Alex had a gun or not. I know Jason Mao does. I know Jason Mao and Alex are friends. So there's that. All right, let me scroll up a bit. Karen said, Spud said that he saw the raccoon and ran to fetch his gun. What was the raccoon doing? Yeah, he said he saw the raccoon running along the fence or something like that. Yeah, why not just let it go? But whatever. 201 bones in the human body and only 40 recovered because the bones that were charred and flesh was still clinging to her bones. I do believe that they were disarticulated. Well, obviously they were. If they weren't together, then they're disarticulated. That still doesn't mean that somebody purposefully dismembered her. Okay. Now, it's entirely possible We have to admit that we don't know that fact. That's all I'm saying. Obviously, that's a huge possibility and quite probable, but we don't know for sure. So people running around saying she was dismembered. No, you don't know that. You can assume and you can think, but you don't know that. So Second Amendment people, yep, we have those here in Texas. Big thing here. I live in the Mormon culture. Some are good people, but some are passive-aggressive tendencies common. It's like if you speak in a super kind voice, you get away with anything. Jen, we're seeing a lot of that, especially with Melanie Gibb, which was where I was supposed to be going with this. I got distracted. Melanie Gibb, her first interview with Nate Eaton. Okay, she comes off as very sweet, very naive, very gullible, but she comes off as a genuinely sweet, nice, caring person, right? Until you really listen to her words and you're like, oh, there's something going on here, and it's also more about what she doesn't say. She tells a story about when Chad called Laurie and told her that Charles was a zombie. And she's like, oh, interesting. No, why are you not jumping up and down screaming that that's crazy and it's not true and people aren't zombies? She accepted it and rolled with it. So, but she's trying to play herself off as a victim now, which is just crazy. Alex said he shot Charles with his own gun. Oh, yep, that's true. He did. He did. He said that was his self-defense story. And they didn't ask him about the gun. They didn't run Alex's history. They were like, oh, okay, dude. Okay, bye. Go home. What? That's crazy. That's really crazy. Hi, Stormy. Nice to see you. Glad you made it. Oh, hi, Sweet Crazy. I'm sorry if I didn't say hi when you came in. Jamisi, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Hi. On Court TV, they said the head of Tylee was not connected to the body. Yeah, Court TV can say whatever they want. That is not in this document. I am basing what I'm talking about on the probable cause affidavit. It does not say that in this document. So unless Court TV has gotten a peek at the autopsy report, they're speculating. That's it. Or someone on the ground told them, or somebody in the family told them, but it's just not in the document. So that's all. Sherry, please do not judge all Mormon crazes. I am certainly not. Okay, Sherry, let me explain this because this comes up in my comment feed a lot too. I was Mormon when I was little, right? For, 5, 6, 7 years. My mother was in the Mormon church. She was a very active member because she was searching for a religion that fit her beliefs. And she was going from church to try and find the one that she liked. So she was in the Mormon church for about 8 years or so. Now, she said she stayed in the Mormon church for so long because of the people. So I didn't really believe in the stuff they were teaching. I didn't really believe in the doctrine, but the people were the nicest people I've ever met anywhere. And she loved the people. But she did come to a point where the belief system was just not her thing. And she tried something else. I'm not going to sit here and say Mormons are bad. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. My personal views of the Mormon faith as a system of religion, not for me. That's okay. It doesn't have to be for me. My spirituality is my own. Theirs is their own. That's great. But Chad and Laurie were not mainstream Mormons. They were for a while in the early parts of their lives. Their whole families are Mormon. They were raised in the Mormon church. They definitely were Mormon at one point, very mainstream. Chad even says he was a member of the priesthood. So the Melchizedek priesthood. I got that word right. Look at that. So Chad was a very successful missionary. There are interviews available. I'm not sure. I believe it's Nate Eaton. Nate's got all the good interviews with some former missionary friends of Chad when he was, and they say they liken him to a biblical character himself. That's how well loved Chad was within the Mormon church. But Chad took what he learned from his time as being a Mormon and turned it into something very dark, very different, very scary, and very crazy. His beliefs that he preached towards the end of this mess were not Mormon beliefs. So there you go. I am not saying that all Mormons are like Chad and Laurie. Absolutely not. Not at all. So there's that. Let me go back up, see what else I missed. Raccoon shooting. Can't believe Melanie said the story of Tylee rolling her. Oh, Melanie Pulowski. Oh, sweet crazy. I went a little crazy when I read that. That was terrible. What she's talking about, Melanie Pulowski, which is Laurie Vallow's niece, had a statement after, the children were identified and say, oh, it's so sad, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes on to say, if you knew Tylee would be rolling her eyes at the drama unfolding in the media. I'm like, drama in the media? We're covering her disappearance and her death and her murder. That's drama to you? All right, that explains why you sat there and let all this happen, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Yeah. I do not have fond thoughts of Melanie Pulowski. Yeah, please talk to Alex about the gun. Yeah, okay, so Alex had a gun. Alex had a gun. Mel G should have contacted the police. Yep, she should have. Yep, some Mormons are the nicest people you'll ever meet. Absolutely, absolutely. Agree with that 100%. Satan is the author of religion. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying I'm not going to go there. All right, caught up on comments. Sorry. So yeah, Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb gives an interview to Nate Eaton, talking about how she was a victim of Chad and Laurie. She's been so deceived. Then she puts this letter on the Avow website. All right, now, unfortunately, we can't cover this case and not talk about religion. I'd really like to be able to do that. I tend to think of myself as a very secularly minded person. I'm pursuing a degree in astrophysics. I'm a scientist. I don't do a lot of religion, and I don't like having to talk about it, especially in this light, because yes, people are going to be upset. Feathers are going to be ruffled. People will be offended. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about religion. We have to talk about Avow. Avow is a group called Another Voice of Warning. They are, according to them, according to the people in Avow, they are very devout Mormons, and they believe the end times are coming, and they are preparing for the tribulations to be upon us any minute. All right. According to Mormons, Avow is a crazy offshoot of extremist beliefs. That appears to be the case. All right. Because I have been through the Avow forums, mainly because I wanted some clear screenshots without watermarks. So yeah, whatever. I'm sorry. I joined Avow just because I wanted the information. But they are not logical, balanced people. Okay, I'll say it that way. Melanie Gibb posted a letter. So she gave a friend a letter and said, please post this on Avow for me. Basically going into her theologic reasons for everything that happened, saying that she was deceived by the great adversary. It's not her fault. It was Satan. She failed the test. Her pride got in the way, blah, 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 giving every religious justification in the world for her involvement in this mess. But when you read it, it's very obvious. If you understand cult psychology at all, it's very obvious that she has not gone through a deprogramming process yet. She has not. She very much believes the things that she believes without being able to see that she's not thinking clearly. Okay. She's painting herself as a victim. She is trying now to come out and say, look, I've had this great revelation. I understand that my pride did this and it was the great deceiver. So let me help you to avoid falling into the trap of the great deceiver yourself. Let me light the way. Let me guide you. Let me lead you. Girl, you got to step back. You are in no position to be leading anyone to anything, like for real. So I have a lot of problems with Melanie Gibb. I still think she is very much in the cult mindset. She's not thinking clearly. She's not seeing things clearly. She needs psychological help. It's very hard when you're in a cult. This is why we have cult deprogramming, because it's very hard to come to that realization that what you were believing in so fervently is not true and was ultimately dangerous, harmful, and in this case led to murders. It's hard to accept that and to get through that and to come out as a whole person, you know. Now, let's remember that Melanie Gibb is not just involved in Chad's cult. There are layers of cult-like thinking and behavior and beliefs to Melanie Gibb. First, we have Chad and Laurie. Going back a little bit, she was a very active member of a vow. So she's in that whole prepper. Remember, she even talks about prepper pride. You know, so she's got that layer of cultists. And then she was an extremely devout and active Mormon, to the point where, yes, they may have been mainstream Mormon beliefs, but she took it to a level that was not necessarily psychologically healthy. So she has layers and layers and layers of cult deprogramming to get through, and she's going to need a lot of psychiatric help. And I don't think she believes in psychiatric help. So there's problems. We got problems with Melanie. Now, one thing about the affidavit that we learned, the night that JJ was last seen, on the 22nd of September, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend, David Warwick, were in Laurie's house. They were there in Laurie's home the night and morning that JJ Vallow was killed. That made me stop and think real hard about Melanie Gibb and David Warwick. David Warwick, a lot of people tend to think, oh, well, he's just her boyfriend. What does he have to do with this? Oh, he is all over this stuff. He is all over preparing a people. He does talks. He has podcasts, the whole 9 yards. He's doing the same thing that Chad Daybell was. Maybe not the same crazy beliefs. Maybe he has his own crazy beliefs. I haven't listened to David Warwick's podcast yet, but I'm gonna. All right. So David Warwick is just as deep in this crazy town as all the rest of them. And that is the man that Melanie Gibb left her husband and kids for. So you can't tell me that Melanie's had a great revelation and she's seen the light. Oh no, she's still as deep and crazy as she ever was. Hi, Gingerlock's mom. Nice to see you. Rhonda, hello. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I'm no longer active, but I know they are not who they claim they are. Wait, I gotta read up. Are you talking about a vow or something? Oh, the LDS. Or in chat or not. Yep. Rhonda, I did say that earlier. I'm going to say that again, just for anyone new coming in. I want this very clear, my position on Mormonism. Chad and Laurie are not mainstream, normal Mormons. They may have been at one point in their life, but they have gone off the deep end of crazy town. Right? Their beliefs are not reflective of Mormon doctrine, because they added all kinds of bizarre stuff. They took a lot from the Mormon faith and twisted it and made it something very different. So I will never say that Chad and Laurie are mainstream Mormon. They're not. Okay. And I'm not going to say all Mormons are crazy, because they are not. These guys are. A vow is, but yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I know, Ron. I just wanted that really clear. I don't want anyone to think that I'm disparaging the Mormon faith because I'm talking about Chad and Laurie, because that's not the case. So there we go. That is on the record. Formal. So yeah, Melanie Gibb, Melanie's boyfriend, David Warwick, they're still in this crazy belief thing. They are not following mainstream LDS doctrine. And, there you go. So, but they were at Laurie's house. What David Warwick has said in the affidavit, just looking at the affidavit, not any other statements, he says that on the evening of the 22nd, they wanted to record a podcast, Laurie and David and Melanie. But JJ was acting up. So Alex Cox came over and took JJ back to his apartment, and they got to do their podcast thing. Later on, Alex brought JJ back to Laurie's apartment and was carrying him in his arms, apparently asleep. We can all question that. But David says that he took particular note of that because it seemed like such a tender moment to see JJ's head against Alex's shoulder while he carried him back in. Everybody goes to bed. And the next morning, when they wake up, David asks Laurie, well, where's JJ? Yeah, he went to bed last night. We saw Alex carry him in. Where is he? And Laurie said that this morning, JJ was acting like a zombie. He was crawling on the cabinets, and he crawled up on the cabinets, up between the cabinets and the ceiling, and he even knocked a picture of Jesus off the fridge. So Alex took him. That's it. That was the morning of the 23rd. David Warwick, Melanie Gibb in Laurie's house when JJ was killed. How was JJ killed? Who killed him? We don't know, but the suspect list is pretty short. Alex, Laurie and Alex. You know, did David and Melanie know what had actually happened that night? It's hard to believe they didn't. You know, if you can tell your friend that you think your child, both of your children, are zombies, and your friend understands that in your belief system, the only way to deal with a zombie is to kill the body so the spirit can be released, and your friend doesn't fight you on that, is it a stretch to think that you would tell your friend, well, we had to kill them to free their spirits? No, of course that's not a stretch. Did Melanie Gibb know? It's quite possible. I hope we find out someday. I really do. Emily, hi. Congratulations, Emily, as celebrating the birth of your great-grandchild? Is that what you said? Your very first? Or your first grandchild? I hope I'm not calling you a great-grandmother if you're not a great-grandmother. You're a great-grandmother. Oh, yes, congratulations on the birth of that handsome, handsome baby. My goodness. Oh. All right, checking the comments again. To carry the dead child. You know, Marcy, we don't know if JJ was dead at that time. He could have just been asleep, but certainly you can watch the reaction when Paul and I are reading that online. We read it in a live stream the other night, and that was the first time we saw that information. And you can see both of our faces when we read that he was carrying his apparently sleeping body back in. We were both like, oh no. So yeah, that's what your mind naturally jumps to, is that JJ was not alive at that time. We'll find out someday. So very, very scary stuff. Let's see. Hi, Gary Gannon. How are you doing? Even if Alex will get all the blame, however, Chad and Laurie knew it was going. Yep, absolutely. See, we've been talking about this for a while, that we think that Chad and Laurie would pin it all on Alex to be like, we didn't know. Yeah, and they probably will still try to. However, law enforcement knows enough to not let that happen just from this one affidavit. And this is only in relation to Chad and the 2 charges of concealment or destruction of evidence. That's all those charges are. We see that Chad had to have been present, or at the very least aware of what Alex was doing in his yard. For him to have sent that text to Tammy, he put the nail in his own coffin right there, because it was sent immediately after Alex left. It covers the ground for everything that they can find that morning. They know they had a fire. They know he buried something. The gunshot is a big question mark, but if they find evidence that Tylee was shot in the autopsy reports, that's it. That's it. He is so doomed, because then they can blame her murder on him, because he says he fired a gun that morning. So, yeah, I don't think Chad is going to get away with this for a hot minute. So, there you go. But yeah, Chad's in trouble. Chad's in a lot of trouble. Now, we do know that Chad left Idaho on September 19th. That was the day that Melanie Gibb arrived at Laurie's house. Chad flew to Arizona or Utah. He flew somewhere for some sort of, I think it was a Mormon meetup thing, you know, one of those conventions, not Mormon as such, one of the crazy people conventions, the prepper things. But I do believe he was back by the 23rd. So we'll have to get the actual date on when he flew back. But he was gone for a couple days there. But remember, Melanie also says that they walked on the BYU track with Chad. So he was there before the 23rd, because Melanie left on the 23rd. So we got to get all these dates together in this other timeline. But we will work on that. All right, let me read up on comments. Give me want to be the next caller. Laura Buck, I agree with you 100%. Melanie Gibb wants so very badly to be seen as a leader, to be seen as a spiritual guide and a mentor. She has a published book, as crazy as Chad's books. She's all over these podcasts. She was all over preparing people and a vow. And absolutely, she wants to be a guru. She really does. She craves that. And even in her letter to a vow, she says that she went wrong because she really, really, really wanted something. And when you really, really, really want something, you open the door to the devil. And then she says, well, and what did I want? Well, or she said, what do people want? Which of course is just a deflection of her own desires. She's like, I wanted visions. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to guide people. So absolutely, she says herself, that's what she wants. So we cannot trust a single word out of Melanie Gibbs' face, is my opinion. And now remember, she is going on TV tomorrow night, 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Central on Dateline NBC. Watch it. Please watch it. Because this was recorded before all of this new information came out. So I think she's probably having a little panic attack right now because it's probably more of the same drivel that we saw from her in Nate's interview. Really passing the buck, deflecting blame, saying she's the victim. I think we're going to see more of that. But what we know, what we've learned in the past couple of days about how much she knew, I'm surprised she's not in a holding cell right now. You know, at the very least, I do expect to see some sort of accessory or conspiracy charge. Although she did go forward to law enforcement in December of 2019. So she could be trying to, secure herself a nice little immunity deal. Please don't give her one. Please don't. Please, 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 prosecutor Rob Wood, get Melanie Gibb because she knew everything. So we'll see. We shall see what happens with that mess. But you don't know about Melanie Gibb. Kaz, if you go back through some of my other videos, there's ones where I talk about her interview. There's links to all of Nate Eaton's interviews with her. There's a video about her letter to a vow. You can see and read the whole thing. So there's a lot of info just here on my channel about Melanie Gibb. And certainly if you Google, you will get mountains of information about this lady. Yeah. Cowgirl asked, why did she pull over but not call the police? Wait, what? Why did who pull over but not call the police? I missed it. Cowgirl, could you ask that question again? Because I missed it and it scrolled up too far, I think. Miss Wee Lassie. Hi, Miss Wee Lassie. How are you doing? I have a theory that Laurie used JJ's tranquilizer meds to render both kids unconscious at the very least. That's quite possible. Absolutely possible. Laurie does talk about giving JJ his meds with Risperidol, something like that, to get him to calm down and go to sleep when he was too much for her to handle during the day because it knocked him out. So yeah, there's absolutely reason to think that. The reason some people may question Julie Rowe's accusation of Chad is that she has in the past frequently. Yeah, Sherry, Julie Rowe changes her story like the wind. She's another one of them. I think both Melanie's and the writer of the book that interviewed are still under the effects. Emily, absolutely. Absolutely. We were talking earlier about cults and deprogramming, and it's very obvious from Melanie's letter on a vow that she has not begun that process yet. I hope she does. I want to know why she made it seem she went from Laurie's alone in September. She did make it sound that she didn't mention David Warwick. The first that he came up publicly was in this affidavit. Why? Why is she hiding that? She hides a lot of things, She never says that I was at Laurie's house when JJ disappeared. She never said that. She never said that, gee, well, I have a husband and kids that I don't see anymore because I left them for this guy. You want to meet this guy? He's great. She doesn't talk about that. No, she hides a lot. So, and then she has the audacity in her letter to a vow say, the deceiver can speak to you with 99% truth and 1% error. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, that's Melanie. Yep, she only picks and chooses what bits make her look better and hides all the rest of it. So there you go. Oh, yep, she is testifying. Melanie Gibb was called as a witness for Brandon Boudreaux in the custody fight between Brandon and Melanie Pulowski. Melanie Pulowski used to be Melanie Boudreaux, Brandon's wife, and she is Laurie's niece, and they're having a very big custody battle, right? Because Brandon Boudreaux got wind of all of this, and all right, Brandon Boudreaux got most of his information from Ian Pulowski's ex-wife. Man, I really need like one of those walls with pictures and strings to make all of this make sense. All right. Let me go over this tangled web really quick. Hi, Linda. How are you doing? Oh, I'm glad your headache's gone. Headaches suck. All right. Let's talk about Melanie Pulowski. All right. Melanie Cope is her maiden name. She married Brandon Boudreaux. Right, and they had a relatively happy marriage. Their pics are gorgeous. They're a beautiful couple. Had some kids. Everything's wonderful until she gets wrapped up in the Chad Daybell thing with her aunt, Laurie Vallow. All right. And she, out of the blue, according to Brandon, kind of sprung on him. I want a divorce. I'm leaving you. Bye. And she checks out. So then she's hanging out with Laurie and Chad a lot, and she gets married to Ian Pulowski. They'd only known each other for 10 days tops before they got married. Okay. So she leaves Brandon and the kids, and Brandon's like, you're not taking my kids. So she goes to be with Ian, and she gets married to Ian. Now, Ian was approached by law enforcement right after they got married saying, here, we want you to wear this wire. We want you to talk to your wife, Melanie, and find out if she knows where these kids are or any other information you can get. So he wears this wire, and he's like, oh, what did I get into? Right. And Ian, bless his heart, he is not the brightest bulb on the string. He documents all of his thoughts about what he's learning and his conversations with Melanie and what he said to law enforcement in this very long document on his laptop, right? His real thoughts on it. But he gives the laptop to his son, who takes it home. And his son's mother, Natalie, Ian's ex-wife, finds this document, and she's like, do what now? Zombies, your new wife, religious cults, the FBI. Okay, right? So Natalie finds out all about this stuff and has this document, and she's like, yeah, we're not playing this. So Natalie gets involved, and she's talking to law enforcement. She starts talking to Brandon, which is her ex-husband's new wife's ex-husband, right? So this is really convoluted. But Natalie and Brandon have gotten together and shared information and all of this stuff because Brandon wants to keep these kids away from a woman who believes that people can be zombies and should be killed. Clearly, this is not someone who should be around children, right? So they have a custody hearing coming up on July 1st, where Brandon is going to be presenting everything. I do have a video up from just a couple days ago showing what Brandon is going to be talking about. Right, he introduces all the evidence and all the witnesses. One of his witnesses is Melanie Gibb. That's going to be interesting because Melanie Gibb and Melanie P are very close. They express great affection for each other. They both drank the Laurie and Chad Kool-Aid. Melanie's going to testify on behalf of Brandon. So I find that interesting and curious to see what she's going to say, how truthful she's going to be, and what she's going to say that, whoop, my screen just went. Oh, there it goes. What she's going to say that Brandon thinks is going to help him keep the kids away from Melanie. So pay attention to that. That's going to be some fireworks. Let's see what's going on. If Ellie doesn't realize Melanie P put a hit out on her husband, then they're more stupid. Yeah. They do talk about that, or Ian talks about that in this document that he left on the laptop, saying that Melanie basically said that Chad and Laurie are responsible for the attempted shooting on Brandon. So interesting. But at the very least, Melanie knew about it, whether she ordered it or not. She's involved, you know? I have a cat hair or something in my mouth. So yeah, that's a big problem. Now, Karina, they were the first who spoke up. That is true. Melanie Gibb did talk to the police in December of 2019. But I know a lot of people say cut her some credit. She was the first person and who spoke up. She's giving all this information to law enforcement. She's the reason they know all this stuff. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because she did talk to law enforcement. She told them a lot of things. She did not tell them everything. She didn't tell them everything. And when it mattered, she was silent. It mattered the very first time that Laurie told her Charles was a zombie and they needed him to die. Laurie told Melanie that Charles is in the way of our mission and he's going to die in a car accident or something. We know his death is coming. And she did nothing. She stayed silent. Laurie told her in the spring of 2019 that Tylee was a zombie, and she had been a zombie since she was 12 or 13. And Melanie knew what being a zombie meant. She explains it in this affidavit to law enforcement. Melanie knew that the only way to fix somebody being a zombie was to kill them. She knew exactly what that meant, and she did nothing. Melanie was at Laurie's house the night that JJ Vallow was killed. She knew that Laurie thought JJ was a zombie. Laurie told her the day she got there, and Melanie Gibb did nothing. When law enforcement went to Melanie Gibb's home, law enforcement went to Laurie's home on November 26th to say, where is JJ? We have a wellness check. We got a call. Let us see him. And Laurie said, nope, nope, nope. And they went back on the 27th, and Laurie had moved. But Chad and Laurie had called Melanie and said, we're going to say that JJ's with you, okay? Just tell law enforcement that. Melanie did not answer the phone for 12 hours. She didn't answer the phone at all until law enforcement showed up at her door and said, what is going on? And she said, oh, JJ's not here. She didn't act when she could have made a difference. She could have saved Tammy. She could have saved Charles. She could have saved Tylee. She could have saved JJ. She could have even saved Alex. Whether you want to debate he deserved to be saved or not the point. She knew, and she did nothing. To me, that's as good as pulling the trigger. So that's what I think of Melanie Gibb. I have not a lot of use for her, but her interview on TV tomorrow should be interesting. Yeah, let's watch that. Anyway, let me come down from that rant. That woman got me so fired up this week. And even Paul, when Paul read the letter to Avow, I sent it to him, like, read this. He called me like 3 times that day. He was like, girl, this woman, I can't even. I'm like, yeah, I know. So we were on the same page with her. And that was before we knew she was at Laurie's house the night that JJ disappeared. So every time we learn something about Melanie Gibb, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So let me check up on the comments because I was ranting for a long time and not reading. I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to do that. I was going to try and read comments. Law enforcement. Yeah, I bet. Imagine if you're law enforcement, you're just like, hey, Nate Eaton, let me see your videos. Let's just watch Nate Eaton's playlist. There you go. There's a lot of stuff there. Oh. Let's see. Melanie Gibb only spoke up because she thought they killed Alex and she was next. Kathy, that's quite possible. That is absolutely possible. She is very self-serving. That's it. You've totally described Melanie Gibb 100%. Self-serving, period, done, full stop. Can you imagine your friend telling you that people are turning into zombies? Let's talk about that, LaDonna, for 1 second. Imagine you're sitting there having a few glasses of wine with your girlfriend. Everything's great. And she says, you know what? I think my husband's a zombie. And the only way to get rid of a zombie is actually kill the body because it's being possessed by a demon. But their soul can't be free until you kill the body to release their spirit. Otherwise, they're stuck in limbo forever. So Charles has to die. If that's your friend, you're going to be like, what? You're just going to be like, oh, that's very interesting. And not call somebody, not call 911 and get the men in the white coats or anybody to do something. But that's what Melanie did. So that means that she believed it. In order for Melanie to have not acted, she had to believe this zombie nonsense. So there you go. That's what I think about that. What else am I seeing? She had to know right there. She knew and did nothing. Yep, Linda, absolutely. Her interview came in a very strategic time for her. Absolutely, Stormy. Yes, it did. Back to self-serving. That is Melanie Gibb. I would be a crappy friend because if I witnessed my friend cheating on her husband, I would have to tell him. Cowgirl up. There's that too. But remember, while Melanie is watching Laurie cheating on Charles with Chad, Melanie and the whole David Warwick thing is going on too. So Laurie's just maybe not doing anything much different than Melanie's doing. That's why she was willing to stay silent and let that ride. Self-serving. Melanie Gibb only gets upset about something when it works against her little plan. Chad is like Jim Jones and Charles Manson, says Rebel Rose. Yep. Absolutely. He's a cult leader. He wasn't a very successful one, but he was a cult leader. I guess. Do you think Melanie, during her interview with the Idaho News, is trying to send a message to Laurie in jail, saying if Chad is Satan, he sure is a good one? I don't know. I don't know if Melanie would have thought Laurie would see that interview, but I think Melanie's whole point for doing that interview with Nate was to save her own butt, a cover your ass moment, to try and start spinning the narrative that Melanie was the victim. Melanie was deceived. Melanie is the good one. She's so sweet, and she uses this very soft voice, and she sits all delicately and na. Please, woman. 5 minutes alone with Melanie Gibb, please. I'll show her what cult deprogramming is all about. Give that woman some psychotherapy. Charles Vallow called 911, didn't save the kids, Tammy or himself. Yep, Linda. From Linda Hackett, Charles Vallow called 911. Now we have even more video. There was one video of Charles at night calling 911 about Laurie, and now we have 2 more videos of him earlier that day or the next day or the day before, something like that, of him calling 911. You see the officer show up. What really got me was Charles says to the female officer that responding, "Are you LDS?" And the officer goes, "Yeah, yeah." And so then he starts explaining how his wife has gone crazy and thinks she's married to the angel Moroni. And the officer knows exactly who he's talking about, and they're talking about LDS. And the officer's like, "Oh, You can see her kind of rolling her eyes. They are not the least bit interested in what Charles is telling her. They're more interested in, well, this looks like you're stalking her, sir. You shouldn't be doing that. You can't go in that hotel room, sir. No, no, no." They're worried about his behavior, not the fact that he's saying, "My wife just told me she's going to kill me with her God powers because she thinks she's married to an angel. And she's got my kids." They're not worried about that at all. Now, maybe it's a bias because he's a big, strong man. He's obviously a very fit, large man, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have anything to worry about. You're big and strong." Maybe they think that he's an abusive narcissist type and he's just lying. So his wife is innocent and he's actually abusive. Who knows what they're thinking? They could just be thinking because he's a big guy and Laurie's a skinny, pretty little blonde thing that Charles can't possibly be right. But they did not take it seriously. If they had, he might still be alive. And one thing I said in another video, so many people in this case dropped the ball. Every single person that came into contact with Chad or Laurie dropped the ball on this case. All of this could have been prevented. Starting with Joe Ryan's death. Remember, Joe Ryan, Tylee's father, was murdered. In 2007, I believe, Alex Cox went to Joe Ryan's home and attacked him. I think he shot him with a taser, but he attacked him, right? And he had to go to court, and he admitted that, yes, he attacked Joe Ryan, and he got sentenced to 90 days and eventually had to pay $5,000 in restitution and had probation. So we know, admittedly, Alex Cox attacked Joe Ryan. This was before Laurie met Chad. Right, so Laurie's been on this kind of murderous rampage for many years, even before Chad. Chad just made it worse, obviously. But Joe Ryan eventually dies many years later of a heart attack. right? And there's a lot of fishy stuff about Laurie going into the home and taking all his belongings, not notifying the family, all kinds of stuff with that. That's a whole mess. Do I think Joe Ryan died of natural causes? Absolutely not. Mm-mm. So it started with Joe Ryan. But from that point forward, all of the other deaths could have been immediately prevented. People knew that Laurie and Chad wanted Charles dead. They talked about it. They said, we want him to die. We're just waiting for him to die. He's going to have an accident or something. He's a zombie. He's Ned Schneider. What? Come on. People knew and they accepted it and said, oh, well, that's just Chad and Laurie. Or they believed it just as fervently as Chad and Laurie. Melanie Gibb might have believed that Charles had to die because their mission was being thwarted. Right? And then we lose Charles and Tammy. Chad and Laurie said they were waiting for Tammy to die. Chad said he had a vision his wife was going to die in a car accident or something like that. They knew that Chad thought she was a dark spirit. They knew all of this stuff. And nobody intervened. And when Chad and Laurie started calling Tylee and JJ zombies, and these people, Melanie Gibb, Melanie Pulowski, whoever else was involved, Julie Rowe, they let it happen? Come on, man. I want all of them in jail. Every single one of them. Conspiracy to commit murder, accessory after something. Charge them on something. They let these kids die. That's it. And so, when people say, oh, you're being hyperbolic or you're being this, imagine yourself sitting with your friend, knowing that your friend thinks their child is a zombie and the only way to fix them is to kill them. If you really knew that your friend believed that, would you do something? I would. I would tie my friend up and lock her in the closet until the police got there to take her. I would not let her back near those children, whatever I had to do. I would not allow my best friend in the whole world to be near her own child if I thought she believed that. Because that's it. You just don't do it. So, yeah, all of them. The anger that I feel towards these other players is almost more angry than I am at Chad and Laurie. Chad and Laurie were nutso. These people willingly sat there and let these children die. So, yeah, I have a lot of anger. Angry. I need a drink. I don't really drink alcohol, but I'm thinking it might be a thing I'm going to have to start as this case goes forward. Oof, because we're only going to learn more. We learned a lot in the affidavit that is horrifying. It really is. And that's just the very tip of the iceberg. We have a lot more to learn. Those autopsy reports, that's going to be tough to read. Now, remember the affidavit that we just read, it only shows Alex Cox's mobile GPS data. We don't know Chad's phone records, Laurie's phone records, the kids to see, where their phones might have pinged last. We don't know any of that. Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, we don't have any of their GPS data yet. I can't even say that. GPS data. We only have Alex's. So it's going to get worse. Law enforcement knows everything they need to know about movements. They do. So as that information comes out, it's going to get worse. Yeah. Well, we have to come up with a healthy coping mechanism, I think. Some really strong ones. Linda K. listening just says there's so much more to come. Not sure I can take it. Yeah, absolutely. I'll put that up on the screen. Linda, you are not wrong at all. And if just this probable cause affidavit evoked this much anger and horror over what we're going to see next, whew. So yeah, we might do some weekly group meditation therapy kind of coping skills work as a group, because as a true crime community, this one's going to be bad. All right. We've had some rough cases. Timothy Jones Jr., Michael Wayne Jones, Gannon Stauch, and that whole case. I will be on that case too. When we get news in Gannon Stauch's case with Letitia, I will be on that one too, because that's the first case that I really felt in a very deeply personal way. I was on the live stream with Denise when we were covering one of the press conferences for that case. And Denise and I both, we had to mute our microphones. We're blowing our nose. We're sobbing like babies. And she's like, I can't talk. I'm like, I know, just turn it on. We'll figure it out. We don't usually respond to these cases in that deep of a way because you tend to try and stay clinical and detached, right? Otherwise, you're going to be in a constant state of grief and mourning. It's really hard. So self-care is going to be important going forward. In this case, it's going to get ugly. It is. So we'll do that. We'll do that together, right? We got this together. All right, let me check up on some comments because once again, I am really bad at reading comments. I apologize. Let's see. Sweet Crazy. Emily, I thought the same thing. Okay, I didn't read Emily's comment, so I don't know what that's about. Along with Charles's other children, too. Yep. Yes, Charles Vallow does have other children. He does. What happened was when Charles Vallow... All right, let's go over the whole Charles Vallow thing. That's a good story for anyone that doesn't know. Charles Vallow was married to Laurie Vallow. They were living together. And Charles had kids from previous marriage. They adopted JJ. Now, JJ is Charles Vallow's nephew, great nephew. All right. So they are blood related. Charles and JJ are blood related. So they adopted JJ and were raising him. And things started to go south, whatever. So Laurie is living in this house in Arizona. And Charles comes over one morning to pick up JJ to take him to school. All right. Alex is there. Now, they tell different stories about what happened. Something happened. There was a fight between Laurie and Charles, or Alex and Charles, or, excuse me, Tylee and Laurie and Charles and Alex, or who knows, because they don't get their story straight. But there was a fight, and Alex shot Charles. Just shot him right there. Alex called. Now, after he shoots Charles, Laurie and the kids leave. Laurie and the kids were there. Laurie, Tylee, and JJ were there when Alex shot Charles. She grabs the kids and leaves, right, and goes to drop JJ off at school. Like, no problem, honey. You just saw your adopted father get shot, but I'm going to drop you off at school. It's fine, right? That's how crazy this woman is. So the police show up. Alex says it was self-defense because Charles came at him with a bat, so he had to shoot him. I don't believe that. Cops didn't really follow up. Alex gets off on it. No big deal, right? Later that afternoon, the very afternoon that Charles was shot, Laurie has a loud pool party in the backyard. The reason we know about that was because neighbors complained to the landlord, because Laurie was renting that house. That was not her home. But the neighbors complained to the owner of the home about this loud party. I'm sorry. Now, imagine how did JJ and Tylee deal with this? Oh, stepdad, adopted dad, whichever, however they all called him, is dead, and let's have a pool party. All right, crazy woman. So yeah, that happened. Oh, I mean, she's so nuts. She is so nuts. It's not even funny. All right, so that's what happened with Charles's death. It was. I'm just reading comments. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be quiet. They said they were going to die in specific ways. They believe in their demented brains that it would throw Ellie and everybody else off the track. Yep, absolutely. Look, we said car accident, but they died this way. We're not involved in that. Yep. They do a lot of trying to set up the narrative, don't they? One thing, Chad being an author, he thinks he's good at that, but he's not. Stuff I heard made me sad, and it's just, yeah. Do burner disposable phones have GPS? If not, they could. They do. Some of them do have GPS. The problem is you have to identify which burner phone they're using. Now, burner phones, a lot of times people say burner phones, but they're not actually taking a burner phone. I technically have a burner phone because I went to Walmart and bought this nice little LG Android phone, popped a SIM card in it, and I pay monthly as I go. I don't have a long-term contract, as it were. So that's technically a burner phone. Now, traditionally, when we're talking about criminals and burner phones, you buy a little cell phone, right? Cheap little thing at Walmart. You make a couple calls and you toss it. You burn it. Some people don't do this, but they say that you pop it in a microwave because it destroys it. Don't do that. Your microwave will explode. Do not microwave your phones, people. But a burner phone is something you use temporary and toss it, right? So that's not traceable. That's not really the case as much anymore unless you specifically buy a cheap phone. Do not pay for it in your name. Don't register it in your name, that kind of thing, and then just toss it after a couple calls. But that doesn't seem to be what Laurie had. Laurie seemed to be having phones like mine, where you buy a SIM card, you put $10 on it and use it for a month, kind of a deal. So that's more of what Laurie was using. And she had multiple cell phones right there. You got to wonder why. Why do you need multiple cell phones? I have a hard time with one, with that thing going off every 10 seconds. What do I need more of them for? That's crazy talk. Charlie Hunt. Hi, Charlie. How are you doing? I've seen people on your videos write comments that we should not judge Melanie. I think this started it off. No one wanted to use to braid. Yes, Charlie. Thank you. I'm putting that comment up. Let me find it. Charlie, that I have been saying that for days. That is perfect. There we go. Yes, people telling me and others not to judge Melanie. Don't be so judgy. Poor Melanie Gibb. And I say, you know what? If Melanie Gibb had been a little bit judgy, JJ and Tylee would be alive. And so would Charles, and so would Tammy. Sometimes it's okay to be judgy. I'm not judging Mormons because I don't believe in the story of Joseph Smith and Moroni. That's fine if they want to believe that. That's great. If you have faith, even if I don't agree with your faith, having faith is a wonderful thing. I'm not judging you for that. Am I judging somebody who believes their kid is a zombie so they need to kill him? Abso-freaking-lutely. I will judge them all day long. And so should you. And so should Melanie. If Melanie had been a little more judgy, she could have prevented 4 deaths. So, yeah. Don't tell me not to judge Melanie Gibb. Because Melanie's not judging her friends is what led to the deaths of their children. That's how I see it. When the kids are drawn into it, that's fine. Yeah, even with the adults, though. If your friend told you that their spouse was a zombie and they were just waiting for them to die, wouldn't you be a little concerned? I wouldn't just blow that off as, oh, you and your crazy beliefs. No, I would be pretty concerned. Yeah. But definitely when they started with the kids, she should have been jumping up and down, screaming bloody murder. But Melanie Gibb hid it. She hid from the police for at least 12 hours till they found her. Because Laurie and Chad asked her to lie. They said, tell law enforcement JJ is with you. Right? And when law enforcement finally caught up to Melanie to verify that story, that's when she finally started to talk. Only when law enforcement was banging on her door. And she was forced between a rock and a hard place. You either lie for your friends, in which case you're in trouble with law enforcement, or you tell law enforcement some of the truth. She only told them some of the truth to keep yourself out of jail. So, yeah, she lied to law enforcement. She only started talking because it served her own purposes. So, anyway. Manuela, hi, so nice to see you. Manuela and I have been having some great talks in the comment section. I appreciate all the great comments you left. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you in the live. The prosecution will see Melanie G the same way. Oh, yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. I think Rob Wood, based on some of the statements that Rob Wood said in the hearing that we saw with Chad, he's not a happy camper. So I'm thinking that's going to be good. Let's talk about the upcoming hearings. We have some hearings coming up. Things are getting moved. This is a bit of news. I should make a news update too, probably tomorrow morning. Chad Daybell was supposed to have his preliminary hearing on July 1st. That has now been moved to August 3rd. Now, I've been saying that all week. Don't hold to that date because I'm pretty sure that's going to get changed. It got changed. I think it's going to get changed again because do we really think there aren't going to be additional charges coming down this week? I do. Oh, I do. So when those additional charges come on, the preliminary hearing is going to have to be scrubbed and redone. And so I don't think we're going to see that for a while. Also on July 1st, we have Brandon Boudreau and Melanie Pulowski's custody hearing. That's going to be interesting. All right. When I first saw the evidentiary hearing that Brandon put out, or the evidentiary motion showing what he's going to be introducing as evidence and his witnesses, I thought, that's rough because some of these things that he's bringing in could directly impact the criminal case going on with Chad, Laurie, and the kids. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Is a court going to allow all of this to be aired in an open courtroom with an ongoing investigation in another matter? Very curious. So I have a feeling either that's going to be delayed or at least sealed or a closed hearing or something like that. So we're keeping our eye on that. July 1st is when that's supposed to happen. And then July 9th is supposed to be Laurie's preliminary hearing. Again, I'm pretty sure that's going to get moved. I'm pretty sure we're going to see charges coming for her, and they're going to have to scrap that and, back up 10 and punt, as it were. So I'm pretty sure all of those hearings, we have 3 hearings scheduled. I'm pretty sure all of them are going to get moved, but I will be watching for them and covering them if they happen. So, boy, it is going to be an interesting few months. You know what they say, may you live in interesting times. That's starting to feel more like a curse than a blessing, isn't it? And yes, Melanie Pulowski is pregnant. What's going to happen with that? Probably nothing. So that's a whole nother thing. Charlie Hunt says, I think Melanie G will skate and slide her way out of this. I think she will too. I think she is probably going to get an immunity deal for her testimony. What do I think about that? Well, if it nails Chad and Laurie for life in prison sentences, I'm not okay with it, but that is a good thing if we get Laurie and Chad put away forever. But Melanie is going to, I think the pain that Melanie is going to feel when she comes to terms with her actual level of involvement and gets the deprogramming help that she needs, right, and gets out of this cult mindset, if her brain can even let her get to a place where the full realization of her actions and inactions hits her, that's going to be punishment enough. I do not envy her that minute. There's a little tiny bit of sympathy I can feel because I know the pain that is going to cause her. I do. And I feel bad about that. But this is what happens when you get involved in cults and try to get out of them. So I don't know how I feel about her having an immunity deal. I would like to see charges, at least conspiracy, because, but I think the public needs to know that belief systems like Chad and Laurie's and Melanie's is very, very dangerous. And when you see your friends going down these roads, you need to intervene. You need to help them and you need to stop it. So hopefully maybe we can learn that from this. I don't know. But yeah, Melanie G has a rough road ahead of her, whatever happens, deals with the devil. Yeah, we see that. Yeah, Melanie G could get immunity. Yes, she can. She certainly can. And I think that's what we see in a lot of her writings and interviews, is she's almost setting that up, So, oh, man. Anyway, we have been here for an hour and a half. Here's some news. Okay. Paul and I are talking about doing a live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern over on his side of the world, because he and I were going to go live the other night and talk about Melanie Gibb. We were going to hash out her interview, her letter, the upcoming interview, just to get ready for this interview tomorrow night. But that got interrupted because as soon as we went live, the affidavit came out. And so we said, well, obviously, we got to cover this. So we read the affidavit and talked about that. We didn't get to really talk about Melanie Gibb. So Paul and I might most likely be going live tonight at 8 p.m. So make sure you're subbed to his channel. And then he has that secondary channel where we were going to put our podcast up, but then we just stopped doing that, where we'll probably do the live stream. I don't have that link offhand. Maybe one of the mods does. I'm not sure. It's called Reporting Live from My Sofa, the podcast or something. Charlene might have it. Stormy, if either of you have that link, if you could pop that into chat so people can get notifications for that. I will put it on Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter, Facebook, things like that. So in Discord, we'll pop the link out in all of our main social medias. So if you're following me and or Paul, you'll get to see notifications if we go live tonight to talk about Melanie Gibb. And he's much better at reading comments than I am. So if you want your comment read, you got a better chance doing it when I master the art of multitasking on a live stream. I got to work on that. Oh, Paul's side of the world. There's a link to Paul's YouTube channel. And I think that's just click it and see. Reporting live from my sofa, the podcast. Yes, Stormy, thank you. The link that Stormy put out is the podcast reporting live YouTube page. Okay, the one that Charlene put out is Paul's main YouTube page. I love Paul 2 bits. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Paul. Okay, so please follow him. Please follow him on YouTube, on everywhere. I love Paul 2 bits. And he and I love to sit and talk. We talk on the phone every day. On his way home from work, he always calls. And we talk about the day's events. And we talk about the drama. And it usually he'll go, I'll say hello. He'll be like, girl. And I'll be like, oh my God, I know. Did you see that? And he's like, oh my God. We do that very silly, gossipy stuff all day, every day. It's so much fun. But I miss having the times we used to talk. I used to do lives with him all the time, but that's really slowed down with him working and stuff. So if we can go live tonight, that would be fantastic. It's always a good time to chat with Paul. The Sofa Squad, that community is the best. And most of you are that community, so I love you all. All right, I'm going to check up on the comments one more time, see if I missed anything. I'm sorry, I can't really work on this. I can't really stay current with comments because I got to figure out how he does that. He's got to have some magic trick. She would have to have taken action in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeah, that's true. She would have had to push it forward. Mel G definitely deserves charges. She does deserve charges, but what charges? I don't know if there is a charge for being completely dumb. Stormy deleted a comment. What did that say? Unsubscribed. Oh, I guess she didn't like what I had to say about Melanie. That's fine. Bye. Whatever. Hi, Lisa Gardner, new sub. Welcome. I'm not sure what Maureen is upset. She was, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, there's a lot going on in this case. I'm going to stay on this. I do expect this week, guys, that we're going to get manner and cause of death. I don't think they're going to release the full autopsy report. I expect that to be sealed because we're dealing with minors, but they will probably tell us cause and manner of death. So if we get that, I will go live immediately, as difficult as it's going to be to talk about, but it's really important. No, you were wrong with the shot G. I was wrong with what shot G? Wrong with the shot G? GI? I don't know what that means. I don't subscribe to Reddit. Maureen, I'd like to address this just because I am a sucker for this stuff. What was I wrong about? I was wrong with the shot GI. I had no idea what that means. Not being sarcastic. I don't know what shot GI means. Telling me I was wrong about the shot in September. No, I'm not. If you read the affidavit, nowhere in the, I'm talking about the affidavit, Maureen. Nowhere in the affidavit did anyone say they heard a gunshot in September. The statement about the neighbors that heard a gunshot, law enforcement says they were told about that in July. The neighbors say they heard it in July. If you can show me in the affidavit where anyone says they heard a gunshot in September, I will absolutely. True text from Chet. That I talked about that, Maureen. I read the text. I told you the text. He says he shot the raccoon. Yes, I said that. Please go back and listen. I absolutely said that he said that. He shot a raccoon. All right. I think there's some confusion about what's going on here. On September 23rd, Chad texts Tammy, right? And he says, I had to burn the tree limbs before this rain came. I had to shoot the raccoon and I had to bury it. That was September 23rd, right? In July, the neighbors say that Garth right? Chad's son told them that his dad shot a raccoon in a tree that day because the neighbor asked Garth about a gunshot he heard. Okay? Yes, it happened twice, but there are no witnesses that say they heard a gunshot in September. Do you see what I'm saying? The only reason we're even talking about a gunshot in September is the text that Chad sent to Tammy saying he shot the raccoon. The neighbors didn't say they heard a gunshot. Chad's kids didn't say they heard a gunshot. Nobody heard a gunshot in September. Only Chad saying that to Tammy. So the question is, did he really fire a gun that day or not? We don't know yet. Okay. Garth told them, but no real surety it was lies from Chad. All right. So Maureen, we're actually saying the same thing and we agree. You're just not hearing what I was saying the right way. That's all. So yeah, the gunshot comes up twice. The statement from neighbors in July saying they heard a gunshot and they talked to Garth. Garth said dad shot a raccoon in the tree during the day. But the September 23rd text to Tammy says he shot a raccoon and had to bury it. But there is no other verification of a gunshot in the affidavit. There are no witnesses saying that they heard a gunshot the morning of September 23rd. Okay. So that's all right. That's cleared up. Are we good then? You don't have to say unsubscribe in chat because it's okay. I'm not making stuff up. I promise you. I will get things wrong. I am human. All right. I will absolutely get things wrong. But if you look through some of my other videos, you'll see that I come right back with, I was wrong. Oops. Sorry. This is why I thought that I was wrong. I admit it and I own it every time that I can. All right. If I watch a video later and I realize something's wrong, I'll put a correction in a pinned comment as soon as I notice it. Okay. I do not try and, pretend I wasn't wrong. I do get wrong. So the bit when you were condescending saying I must have heard this off Reddit. I don't mean you. I was not talking to you directly. A lot of the rumors that we deal with come from Reddit. A lot of things. And what I meant was, if somebody says, yes, I heard a gunshot in September, you get people on Reddit saying, my brother is a friend of the neighbor that delivers the mail to Chad Daybell's house. And he said he heard a gunshot. And you're like, okay, that's the kind of stuff we have to ignore, and that's what I meant by the Reddit comment. The Facebook groups, a lot of things like that. You get people, a friend of a friend of a friend of a brother of a sister of an aunt of an uncle heard that Chad Daybell said this, and we can't go by that stuff. So that's all I meant is that. And Maureen Walsh, when you get to know me, you'll know that I only write facts too. Right. So, and that was what I was pointing out. There is no official report from anyone who heard a gunshot on the 23rd. So I'm questioning, did he actually shoot on the 23rd? And if he did, what did he shoot? I don't want to think what the obvious answer to that is, but it's possible. It's possible. But the fact is, we don't know. And that's a hard fact. I was talking about that with someone last night. It's very hard to sit here and cover this case and admit that we don't know a lot of things that we really want to know. And it's easy to let that vacuum get filled with our ideas, our theories, our speculations, and our extrapolations. But that's why we do these live streams, so we can talk about all it and get it out of our heads and then go back and focus on just the facts, which is hard. During the proceedings, we should hear the prosecution refer to the raccoon being buried. Yep. Yes, Maureen, they said they found a dead cat and a dead dog in the pet cemetery. No raccoon. Yep. So if a gun was fired on the 23rd and there is no raccoon, we'll have to deal with that little tidbit when it comes out. Is Mira around to help Charlie get into Discord? Yes, she is. I will find her. Charlie, you're actually in Discord. I talked to you in Discord. I know I talked to you in Discord. You sent me a message the other day. Yeah, I will deal with that as soon as we're done here. Oh, yep. See, I just got a message from you. How do I get into the group? Oh, you need to be in the group. I see you're in Discord. Let me get you a link. All right. I'll put it in your Discord, Charlie. You should be able to see that. Oops. I can't see my keyboard, so I can't see the buttons I'm pushing. Control V. There we go. All right. Stormy just put a link into chat of my Discord channel. You can join there. If you click that button when you have Discord installed, it should bring you right to the server. Charlie, I just sent you a link in Discord to your private message. If you click on that, it should take you right to the group. Yep, there we go. I see people. I see people. I don't see Charlie. Yep, Charlie, it shows you in the Discord server, so you should be there. What I will do, Charlie, I'm going to have my daughter message you on Discord to show you. She'll get screenshots of where you have to click to actually get to the group. But if you look at your Discord on the left-hand side, there should be a circle, and you should see my ToxicBliss icon, the one that's up in the corner here of the video. You should see that. Just click on that, and it will bring you into the actual chat room, so you can get to everyone. Yeah, but I will have my daughter make sure that you know how to navigate that, because it can be tricky. But once you get going, you'll be fine. Chad's daughter, Julie Rose, close friend Emma, lives across from Chad. Maureen, Chad's daughter, Emma Murray, actually moved into Chad's house the day after or the day that he was arrested. Can't remember, later that night or the next day. Emma Murray moved into Chad's home. I'm not sure I would move into that house, but Emma's always been a little bit of a loose cannon, you know. And Zulema is supposedly a professional cuddler. Yeah, Zulema has a cuddling business. Zulema has a very interesting history. Very interesting. A child of a man that Zulema has been married 6 times now, I think. I think Alex was her 6th husband. A child from one of Zulema's previous marriages actually did some posting about how terrible Zulema was, and she just was mean to her father and stole $10,000 and half their belongings and split one day. And, you know, that is complete hearsay and whatever. I'm not reporting that as fact, but Zulema's got some stuff. Yeah. Very interesting character. Zulema is also very, very close with all the Chad teachings and the whole, you know, that whole podcast group, that whole preparing a people thing and all of that. So she's another one in that mess in there. But where are the others? Okay. Where is my daughter? Why is she not listening to this? Daughter? Oh my God. I will find my daughter and I will have her do that. She's the mod Mira S, so you can ping her if you know how to do that. But in the meantime, I will have her go find you, Charlie, and get you set up in Discord. But yeah, Zulema, another Black Widow. I don't know if any of Zulema's husbands are dead. They could very well be. I haven't looked into her that deep because it's scary, honestly. Oh. But all right, so I think that's everything. I hope we cleared up a lot about facts versus extrapolation. I did give a lot of theories and opinions and stuff today, but hopefully I prefaced all of them with this is a theory, this is speculation, as opposed to this is a fact. Hopefully that'll be clear. Stay tuned this week because I am expecting to get cause and manner of death on the children, which that's going to be rough. Is not going to be easy to hear. Not at all. Maureen, I do apologize for our misconception back there. I hope you won't take it personally. I'm very sorry that we had that little thing, but I'm glad we got to clear it up. So see, when I actually read comments, I can clear stuff up. I really got to get better at that. So I apologize. I'm learning. I'm new to live streaming on my own. I've been doing live streams with Paul and Denise and Linda and Allie and other people for almost half a year. But when it's their live stream, I don't have to, I just sit there and talk. I don't read comments and stuff, but when it's mine, I have to pay attention. It's all new. There's a lot to do. Yeah, anyone thinks this is easy and a piece of cake, give it a whirl. It's fun. I'm enjoying this immensely, but it's tricky. So, yeah, there's a lot of information about Zulema out there. Maybe we'll do a deep dive on her. She is a little creepy, but She is definitely one of the big players. Please check out Denise Rainey's channel. I'm sure the mods will drop a link to Denise Rainey's YouTube channel. She's no longer with us. That's all I'm going to say. But she does have an extensive list of videos, including readings of Chad Daybell's blog and some of the podcasts on her channel. And that's where you're going to get a lot of the background info that I don't have yet, because I just started covering this case on YouTube recently. So I haven't made a lot of historical videos on it yet. But yeah, please check out Denise Rainey. Linda, Stormy, you guys, if you could put a link. There we go. Stormy, with a Chance of Rainbows, has a link to Denise Rainey's YouTube channel. Charlene has a link. Please go ahead and check out all of Denise's videos. Yeah, if you don't know Denise, you will definitely love her, and you will love the information. She worked tirelessly on this case. So there you go. Mira is on the case for Charlie. Thank you, Expat Mara. Everybody give a round of applause to Expat Mara or Mara. I can't say it how he does. He has an accent. But that is my husband. He is the reason that I get to do this stuff, because he supports me and he stands by me and he helps me in any way he can. He is the best husband ever. He's not a zombie. I'm not going to kill him. It's sad that you have to say that nowadays. But yeah, that is Mr. Awen. That is if you know my podcast, if you followed my Toxic Bliss podcast, that is Liam. That's not his real name. That's just his name in the story. His name is Dave. He's my husband, my Liam, Mr. Awen. And he's awesome. Look at all those claps are for you, Dave. I love you, honey. I hope you're having fun out there. I actually kicked him out of the room and closed the door so I could have quiet. I miss you. Yeah, maybe I'll go spend some time with my husband. Is my husband? No, my husband is not Mormon. We are not any religion. I am a very spiritual person, but I do not subscribe to any organized religion. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I don't have the Denise emoji that Paul does on his channel. Maybe someday I'll be able to get it, but I don't yet. All right, so a lot of people just joined Discord. My Discord just went on my screen. So I'm going to go in there with my daughter, make sure y'all know how to get the basics. Discord's very easy. It may look intimidating, but we'll get you all going. So feel free to talk about the case there. There are free voice channels. Any of you can go into the voice chat on Discord and talk to each other whenever you want. It's free. Use it as much as you want. If you need more voice channels, let me know. We'll make more, but it's free. You can talk to anyone, anywhere in the world in Discord all day long about this case. So let's do it. Lots of text channels, all kinds of stuff. All right. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thank you. My husband, we call him, he's not my children's stepdad. He's my child's stepped up dad, because he stepped up and took the reins and has raised my children with me for 15 years. I love you, honey. You're the best. So happy Father's Day, everyone. I love you. Where do you go now, Maureen? You can go to Discord if you want. I will have links on, if you look at my social media links, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. If Paul and I go live tonight, we will be putting it out there, so be able to find it. And that's that. All right, Mr. Bliss. Dave is Mr. Bliss. All right, I'm just gonna sit here kind of quiet for a minute, because the mods are putting a lot of useful links up for everyone. Denise Rainey's channel, the Discord channel. I have more content on Patreon, which actually I really got to get working on the next video for that. Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. So yeah. Stormy, could you drop the link? Wait, I've got it right here. I can drop a link. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean I can't drop a link. Right here, I'm going to put a link with a big star, so it's obvious. And my keyboard. You can't see it under my microphone. All right, this link right here with the big star, that will be the YouTube channel that Paul and I will be live on later. Okay, so if you want to hit up that channel, have it open or notified or whatever. So if we do go live, you'll see it. That's the YouTube channel to sub to. Okay. All right. I'm out of here, guys. I got to go see my beautiful husband and my wonderful children and do some Father's Day stuff and have some lunch. And hopefully I'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock on the other channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, so 7 p.m. Central. And we'll talk strictly about Melanie Gibb and her stuff and get ready for her interview tomorrow night, because it's going to be good. Thank you all for being here. I love you all. Stay safe out there.